No!
How about this? The U.S. Park Police are...
Let's start by storming Blackgate!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is of course part of a series where I focus on a specific director and rank that director's work from worst to best. Done such directors in the past such as Spike Lee, Spike Jonze, David Fincher, David Lynch, Wes Anderson. The list goes on. You guys can check that out in the playlist down below. But guys, you clicked through this video so you know it. This time around I'm focusing on Bong Joon-ho's films and ranking them from worst to best. Now, this will not be including any short films, music videos, TV shows, none of that. Just specifically feature-length films. And Bong Joon-ho has done 7 films as of the filming of this video, September 2021. So I'll be ranking his films from 7 being his worst to 1 being his best, and of course, my opinion. So all that exposition aside, guys, let's get started. So kicking things off with my number 7 is, of course, Barking Dogs Never Bite. This was his debut film. It is currently on Hulu as of the filming of this video. This movie is okay. It's by no means a bad movie. I definitely can understand why some people might like this a lot. I personally just think it's okay. It's showcasing all the things that we would later go on to see Bong Joon-ho focus on, such as the themes and messages of the class. But I think that it just wasn't fully able to capitalize on that the way he would later on down the line. Okay film, not bad by any means, just a movie that I probably won't revisit anytime soon, which is why it's my number 7. Next up, my number 6 is Okja. This is a Netflix film. It is an American Netflix film, I might add, because this is a movie that doesn't have subtitles or anything. And I think that this might be the most accessible Bong Joon-ho film. I think it's rock solid personally. I really like Tilda Swinton's performance and especially Jake Gyllenhaal's zany performance. And the themes and messages dealing with obviously the food industry are admirable. Not a totally cohesive movie in terms of being able to accept it for myself. Because when I say accept it, I mean that there are some predictable beats and some things that I do kind of fall into the cliches of the genre, which if you're fine with that, that's great. But for myself, I wasn't able to fully be on board with that. Especially because, again, this movie has such a strong start that by the end, when it kind of falls into those cliches, it just kind of made me check out. But that's just me personally. I understand and respect if more people love this movie. Maybe I'll revisit it in the future. I don't know, but that's why it's my number 6. Next up, number 5 is Snowpiercer, which I saw 7 years ago. Finally decided to revisit it in preparation for this video. I watched it a week ago as of filming this video, September 2021. And Snowpiercer, I had issues with it 7 years ago, but those issues pretty much dissipated when I watched it the second time. But issues kind of replaced it now as a viewer that I am. I like this movie. I think it's rock solid. I think that it is really good in terms of the themes and messages. I love how, obviously this train is a representation of class and how these characters are going from one end to the other end to represent obviously going from lower class to upper class and showcasing it. Really liked it. I think also the blended genres is really good stuff. I like how you can be an action fan, a drama fan, thriller fan, also a fan of, obviously political and social messages. I like that. I like how this movie can pretty much please everyone. It works. Again, does have some issues, but overall, I like this movie quite a bit. That's why it's my number 5. Next up, my number 4 is The Host, which I've only seen one time, and I saw it 2 years ago in preparation for this video, and I like The Host. I think that The Host, though, is almost kind of like Okja, where it's like that first half is a lot stronger than the second half, but I also think that The Host, I can't get out of my mind that first half and how great it is, which is why I want to revisit it and why I say to myself it's a bit better than Snowpiercer, because The Host is dealing with, obviously, that monster genre. And for myself, the creature monster genre is something that I usually kind of struggle with. I find that a lot of times it doesn't really focus on characters. Thankfully enough, this movie does handle characters, and it does deal with the drama of it. And by dealing with characters in other monster movies, I mean that a lot of movies have it where those characters are cookie cutter, but not the case with The Host. The Host has it where these are 3-dimensional, palpable characters. And I like that. I respect it. A bit uneven with the second half, but I do think that overall it does kind of beg rewatches, which is why I have it as my number 4. Next up, speaking of rewatches, is my number 3, which is Mother. Mother is a movie that I know quite a bit of people that have as their number 1, and for good reasons. It's a movie that is very thought-provoking. It's dealing with a lot of mature stuff. And honestly, I give Bong Joon-ho props because it's a movie that I saw 2 years ago, and I said to myself, it's just solid. But 2 years later, I'm still marinating on it. I'm still thinking about it, and it makes me want to revisit it even more just thinking about it. So I know that it's one of those movies I'm going to revisit, and that's why I'm saying to myself it's probably better than these other movies I mentioned. Not as entertaining, per se, but it is a movie that, again, I just can't get out of my head, which is why it's my number 3. Next up, speaking of getting out of your head, number 2 is Memories of Murder. Now, I know a lot of people have this movie as their number 1, and I'm not going to lie. I was going back and forth between this and my number 1 with deciding which is my number 1. And I have to say, Memories of Murder, the only reason why it's my number 2 is because I haven't seen it as much as my number 1. That's pretty much the only reason. Because Memories of Murder also, this is also a reason. Memories of Murder is a movie I saw, what was it, 3-4 years ago? No, 3 years ago, I would say. I watched it on, I think it was the Criterion Channel. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5-star rating. But the Criterion Blu-ray came out all these years later, this year. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? I want to revisit this movie. And I think watching it on Criterion Blu-ray is going to be even better. Especially all these years later. And 3 years later, I have to say, I was wrong when I watched it 3 years ago. And that's why I really am saying to myself, I'm glad that I rewatched it. Because Memories of Murder, I'm now hailing as a masterpiece. This movie is perfect. I love everything about it now. I think it's a great piece of filmmaking. It is a Bong Joon-ho masterpiece, without a doubt. Now, again, it's not a movie I fully loved the first time, but it is a movie that now that I do love it, I know and see myself watching many, many more times, which is why I'm glad I bought it on Criterion Blu-ray. But there's a movie that I liked a bit more, and I loved it right away, and I've loved it ever since. And that is, of course, my number 1, Parasite. Parasite I bought on Blu-ray when it first came out on Blu-ray. I saw it 2 times in theaters, loved it both times. Saw it on Blu-ray a 3rd time, saw it a week after that, a 4th time. And then when it came out in 4K finally, because, you know, it won Best Picture, they finally decided to release it on 4K. I decided to buy it on 4K. So I watched it for a 5th time. I've seen this movie 5 times in the span of 2 years. I love this film. I love it a bit more than Memories of Murder. I think that it's a film that every single time I watch it, I get more and more out of it. And it's a movie that just grows with each viewing. I love it. I love this film. I'm so glad it won Best Picture. I feel bad for the Parasite guy, honestly.
But out of everybody in the United States of the motherfucking America, how many people actually fucking seen Parasite? Can someone please raise your goddamn hand and tell me, for the love of Christ, how many fucking people in the United States of the motherfucking America saw Parasite?
The one that went on a rant for, you know, disliking a movie that he hadn't even seen.
Okay? I don't know what Parasite is. I don't give a shit about Parasite. It's fine. It won Best Foreign Film. You know why? Because it's a goddamn foreign film.
His loss. Parasite's an incredible film. If you get past the subs, it's an amazing film. Subs, bro, not dubs. Remember that. You know who you are. I might show footage. We'll see. Copyright? But yeah, guys, that's obviously my ranking of Bong Joon-ho's films, ranked worst to best. Now, I do like to sometimes talk about the director and what I like about him and whatnot. Bong Joon-ho, I really like his style. As I mentioned earlier, I love the fact that he tackles all these themes and messages that are, you know, obviously very socially relevant, especially nowadays. I love his filmmaking, the cinematography, you know, the camera movement. I think it's really good stuff. The acting is always strong. The blending of genres. He is a great director. He is a director that if a film of his comes out, you best believe I will be watching it day one as soon as it reaches theaters. So, yeah, glad that I have now seen all of his films. He is a very talented filmmaker. But, guys, Bong Joon-ho, what do you think of his films? Let me know your ranking list down below. And as always, what do you guys think I should rank next? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.